part two of this individual throttle body mess. Okay, so in part one, we removed all the stock stuff. So the original wiring harness, and I had the ECU mounted here. Removed the stock intake manifold with the coolant lines. We looped those. We got our adapter plate on. We put in this 3D printed plugs. But we got some actual plugs from Dingus Engineering, which we'll put these in the freezer. And it's going to be 100 degrees today. So they should slip into here no problem. So far in part two, we've removed the AC evaporator. It used to live here. Now it lives on the floor. And we cut a hole. We cut this hole, moved it out, and then we're going to run this through that hole. I got a system of Dingus Engineering bulkhead plugs. I embedded some 6x1 nuts in here. This is a cap. Anyways, this I decided to angle down. Right? We'll just put some sealant there. But I'll angle it down because I like washing my engine. Right? And it's pretty genius. Kind of run the wires through here and this will lock it into place. But the main thing we're going to do today is wiring. Nobody likes doing wiring. I have the diagram here, fuel pump diagram here. So I have to wire all these wires. And most of what I'm going to wire is probably on this connector here. This has the starter signal, this has reverse lights, this has ignition, power, ground, which I'll ground somewhere else. So I just have to run this wire back into the firewall, run this harness through the hole, wire everything up, and see if this puppy starts. Forgot to mention also in part one, we removed the brake booster, put this Dingus Engineering brake booster delete. So we got to modify the rod here, which I found something that threads into it. So I bought a new Corvette fuel filter, 62 PSI. We'll find a nice place to mount it out of the way of the AccuSump. sump. Maybe I could get it up against the firewall, and we'll clean up all this jank stuff. Alright, so just to give you an idea, starter, accessory, ignition, battery, wideband, fuel control, ground on the intake manifold, alternator charge light, reverse light, yada yada. Which reminds me also, I bought a 100 amp feasible link to jump power from here to here, because we're going to be sharing the starter wire and use it as a charge wire. And I was originally thinking of mounting the battery inside just to clean up the engine bay, but I mean, it's so small and it fits right here, no problem. So we'll just leave it. After a little time, I more or less got all the inputs on, and they're just connected with these Wago connectors, which are kind of nice because it's temporary, so I don't have to mess around with twisting wires together. So I'm gonna charge up my laptop and then we're gonna see if this thing powers on and connects. While you're doing all that, just make sure that your battery is on the trickle charger, so when you actually try to start it, it has power. Okay, so I plugged in the harness, the power is connected. I'm gonna bump the starter and see if it works. Perfect. Now let's connect the ECU. Essentially, it's just this one plug. Okay, so still need to hook up a vacuum line for the map sensor. ECU's connected. Oh yeah, fuel pump primed and turned off. ECU failed to unlock, so copy and pasted the code. We're just waiting for Matt. While we wait for an email back from Matt, I estimated the distance using this welding rod and tape to see how long I need of a rod for the brake master cylinder. We'll literally chop it there. Machine finished. After a little finagling, we have this. This is our TPS adapter. This is, I already got a good sweep. Let's calibrate it. Depress throttle to fully open. Release throttle to closed position. There we go. So, shit, let's try starting this sucker. I'm just glad it's running. The garage is hot. It smells like carbon monoxide, but we're all smiles here. I'm gonna try to wire this as neatly as possible and mount the ECU in a good location. Then I still need to hook up the alternator, and this is for the fuel pump. This is what I'm doing for the alternator. It is an 80 amp, and this is just pretty much a big ass blade fuse. All right, sure. That's 80 amps right there. 80 amps. We'll seal that up. This will fit the alternator 6x1. This will fit the starter 8x1.25. Both ends crimped and soldered with shrink wrap. We'll figure out what to zip tie that to. Fuel pressure. We're gonna try to stick this on the rail by the firewall. It's a flare fitting MPT. We'll put a dab of Teflon. So, take off this heater hose to reroute the wiring harness. Lucky for me. Oh, we're gonna spill out some fuel. Okay. Plug in our sensor. Okay, to get rid of this two-piece hose because I cut it, we got the Rock Auto replacement right here. Big mess. Okay, cardboard. Do your best to sandwich it. Once you sandwich it, you get this ring in here to lock it in place. Okay, here's a closer look. Had to cut that ring because it was way smaller. So now we just bolt it to this plate and sandwich it against the firewall. Well, it feels like many months later. As you can see, I redid the fuel system, made this line a little longer, rebent a new pipe for this, mounted the air intake temperature sensor. I cut the hard lines and I made the cut down there. Little cleaner install. I hooked up the throttle cable. This wideband sensor was like $40 something on Amazon. It's a real Bosch because I've had the other one fail. Anyways, you can see the wideband there. It's for like some Chevy. And I have the connector zip tied there. Cleaned up the water lines. This battery doesn't take a charge really. We hooked up our fuel pressure sensor. I'm getting about 61 psi at the rail, thanks to this new Corvette fuel filter. Still got to hook up the fans. Then on the inside, I just had the vacuum because it was really a mess in here. Put the blower back. That's a wideband. I just have all these wires out of the way. All this are outputs that go to the cluster. That battery. Okay, look at that. So that new $40 sensor really helped. So I just need to really work underneath this dash, but on the driver's side. And as you can see, it's really tight. Really tight. So I'm going to get this off the lift because I'm pretty much done with everything under the car for now, besides some exhaust leaks. So we'll get this off and park this more closer towards the center of the garage. Had to clear out the garage, clean the floor. Well, sounds like a misfire. This Dingus Engineering carbon fiber plug shot out. Oh, 2 of them did. Okay, interesting. I mean, I have the other ones in the freezer. Yeah, these are just sliding out. Hoping the engine's warm enough to slide right in. Was a little worried because I couldn't find the last one, but we got all 4. Give this a quick measure and 14 mil on the dot. Okay, new plan for now. We're just gonna get the engine up to operating temp. He's fit real loose now. And then once it's up to operating temp, we're just gonna try to smash those bad boys in there. We are pretty much there. Okay, let's tap in these plugs. Dang, I messed up. I messed up big time. Okay, that was dumb. This is literally the same size, 14 mil. But now we gotta take it all apart. I mean, that wasn't that bad. Nothing like wasting time. Literally just kind of melted it back into place. All it has to do is seal air and not have a leak. So I just took the Dremel and I sanded the inside because I really marred these plugs with those plugs. So just cleaned it up. Now we gotta blow off all this. Okay, it's back. There's the repair right there. I think we'll be all right. It's like 100 degrees in the sun and I'm wearing a beanie. Anyways, I pressure washed the engine bay and I decided just to repaint this little section here. This is the first coat. Not too shabby. You see this? Dang! So I took aluminum tape and I covered all the holes and I just rattle canned it. And it's looking pretty decent. See, I masked the shock towers. And I have a mask line there. But yeah, other than that, I mean, this thing's looking pretty sweet. Still got quite a few things to button up, but I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching.